exactly what you were saying, Josh. I mean, there's stuff to do. You don't just go belly up and nurse a drink all night. There's other things to do. You're seeing the sports simulators, Top Golf. There'll be an indoor virtual shooting range.
There's a lot of tequila just worth trying, too.
For the story, for the sake of research, I tried about 7.
Oh, yeah, for the sake of the story.
She was really working hard this weekend.
Hard, yeah.
Gotta get over there. Now I'm hungry.
Yeah.
So
Maybe not for you, though, if you don't want your meats to touch the dish.
Oh my gosh. You need like the segmented bento box.
I'm Josh Duke.
And I'm Alex Darus.
And you're either watching or listening to Dine Drink CLE, the podcast where each and every week we're going to be joined by cleveland.com's best and brightest food experts, insiders, and influencers. What are we talking about today, Alex?
There's a lot going on today. We're going to be joined by reporter Marc Bona, who's going to talk a little bit about some changing dynamics in the greater Cleveland, Northeast Ohio brewery scene. National Margarita Day is coming up on February 22nd, so Wolfe is going to join us and tell us a little bit about what is a margarita, where can we get some, kind of just talking about our favorites. And then finally, we'll be joined by Peter Chakerian to talk about a new fast casual barbecue chain and kind of talking about in general the trend of fast casual restaurants. So, yeah.
Welcome, Mark.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, so over the weekend, a lot of news happening in the especially Akron brewery world. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what's going on?
Well, the biggest news was because of the breaking news of Shea Brewing announcing their closure, my wife suddenly got thrust into the spotlight to cook for a dinner party that I was supposed to take the lead on. So, but that was okay. No, yeah, this was a lot of news and really, sad news. Shea Brewing announced that it will be shutting down. Sunday, March 3rd is the Akron Brewery's last day. They have 2 locations. One's in the Merriman Valley and one is in Canal Place. This is really a series of really bad dominoes that were, you can pick your metaphor, snowballing, rolling, going right at Ron. And it was a bad situation. And in a nutshell, what happened was Ron opened his brewery in the Valley in 2015, nice little strip mall, became very popular very quickly, so much so that he decided he wanted to expand. And in 2019, he did that with a lot of loans behind him, and things were going okay. He chose a very large industrial cavernous space in Canal Place, really cool, I thought, in downtown Akron, a stone's throw from the ballpark and right in the heart of downtown Akron, close to the university. And then 4 months later, what he didn't see in his crystal ball, and none of us saw in any of our crystal balls, was COVID and all of the restrictions that brought everybody. That was a huge problem. So a while back, late last year, he started a crowdfunding venture because the interest on his loans, I really don't want to get too technical on business on a food podcast, but basically his loans ballooned up several percent, which was par for the course. I mean, it wasn't anything sneaky or anything that could happen with the government keeping time with inflation, so to speak. But that translated to him having to bring in about $20,000 more a month. That is very difficult to do for most businesses.
Yeah, let alone a restaurant or a brewery.
That is exactly right. So as a point I made in the story is, it's one thing if you're Boeing and you have some sort of a major problem and you need to make that up. You find another order for a couple of planes and you're back in the black. You can only sell so many pints of beer and plates of chicken wings. $20,000 a month is a huge pop to hit, and that was a huge problem. So, financially, things really snowballed in a very bad way. Also, material costs were going up, and he saw the writing on the wall late last year, and the whole thing really was a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. And outside of the financial kind of hardships and timing with COVID, were there any other factors that kind of led to this closure of Shea?
Yeah, there's a serious shift in demographics among beer drinkers. And I've been thinking about this a lot, and I really don't find this to be a negative thing on any generation. It's just each generation has their own proclivities as to what they drink, what they don't drink. And a lot of very, very young drinkers are trying different things. They're not automatically gravitating to beer the way multiple generations, mine, and yours too, did for a while. Now you have young drinkers who are looking at ready-to-made cocktails. They're looking at hard seltzers. They're looking at the alternative ciders that are out there. And as you have done a lot on, Alex, the sober-minded, sober-curious people, mocktails and things like that.
Yeah, non-alcoholic. There's just a lot more, too, just in general, available to pick to drink, whether you're drinking alcohol or not. Your choices are a lot
So
more.
great point again, because if there's more available, that means that the breweries who 10 years ago used to have 8 to 10 different beers on the shelf in a typical grocery store now are fighting to have 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So that's fewer options. That means less revenue coming in. So it's competition is good, but this is kind of the negative side of it in a way. And it's just kind of hurting things. Now, what we're left with is craft beer has about right around 13.2% market share. So that means that even though we can talk every week about the multitude of breweries in this state and in this region, there's well over 420 right now in Ohio. We have about 90 or 100 in Northeast Ohio. The majority of beer being consumed in this nation are the macros. That means Miller, Bud, Coors, things like that. We are going to find out in several months what that market share figure, the updated figure, is like for craft beer.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in that. I'm predicting that it's going to slice down a little bit for all the reasons that we just talked about.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. But it's not that, obviously, not all bad news, because I know you also had a story that Brew Kettle on the flip side, they're kind of expanding, doing more with their brewery. So you want to talk a little bit about that? Yeah,
good segue in a way, because in the Our Shea story, I interviewed John Nayway, who is the owner and founder of Thirsty Dog Brewing Company in Akron, largest brewery and first in Summit County. And he said he sees the future of craft beer to be basically in consolidations, acquisitions. So an example of that we're seeing that has started over the past several months is the Brew Kettle. The Brew Kettle slowly over the past several years has expanded. They have about, I want to say, 4 or 5 locations. They go as far west as Amherst, as far east as Mentor. They're down in Canton. They expanded in Canton. They opened with Top Golf down there.
Yeah.
They've got these cool things going, but then they started acquiring other breweries. They bought Canton Brewing Company, and they recently bought Lock 15 Brewing Company, which we spoke about in Akron, letting that brand stay the way it is and really just keeping it for what it is. But they also are announcing that they're moving into Brunswick. That's the latest expansion project. It's right at the southeast corner of Center and Marks Roads. That's Ohio 303, right in Brunswick. Good location, because to me, a good location for a brewery is when you either have 1 or 2 around that craft beer heads can hit, or there's nothing anywhere close and you'd have to drive several miles. I think there's a need for it. I think they'll do pretty well. It'll be interesting to see. But Brew Kettle has really taken a bullish approach. They are buying, and buying. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, so obviously expanding by purchasing other locations, it seems like that's working out for them. But like you mentioned before, it sounds like there's a little bit of a change in culture or a change of demographics to the type of people who are interested in like craft beer now. So I know this new location and maybe another, they are implementing stuff like VR simulators, golf simulators, and stuff like that. So for me, as somebody who's kind of a gamer too, and somebody who definitely fits the mold of looking more for these alternative, healthy or cocktail, mocktail. Yeah,
you're not go-to a heavy beer.
Right. So to hear them implementing stuff like that, I'm like, okay, well, I could go there and I can, give them business because I have stuff that is interesting to me. So I think that it'd be cool if more continue to implement strategies like that.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too, because it's like, also, like you said, there's so many breweries. Sometimes it's like, okay, which one do we want to go to? And like my family, it's like we have the ones that we like because of the food. Like it's not that we'll all drink beer or whatever, but we'll just go because it's easy and family friendly or whatever, and they have really good food. So it's almost like, they'll succeed if they have the other aspects. And I mean, Brew Kettle has a pretty robust food
They do.
menu as
they have a
well.
great menu, and craft breweries recognized early on. I sometimes I used to write that craft breweries are this generation's corner bars. But that's like corner bar 2.0 because exactly what you were saying, Josh. I mean, there's stuff to do. You don't just go belly up and nurse a drink all night. There's other things to do. You're seeing the sports simulators, Top Golf. There'll be an indoor virtual shooting range as well. There's all sorts of things, and breweries immediately embraced this concept. They started holding trivia nights. They started maybe bringing in a singer-songwriter, doing different events like that because people, especially the last 2 or 3 generations, are more interactive focused. They just don't want to sit there at the bar and do nothing else.
I can't imagine just being slammed though with like a VR. I think you said a VR shooter. Like, was it like a headset? Just like trying to navigate in the virtual world when
It's
you're
a safe way to experience that, I guess.
tipsy. You're probably like, it's probably making I don't know, probably gonna make you feel a little motion sickness. Stuff like that. I can't imagine.
No,
but
they should have people sign a waiver or something.
they probably are gonna need a waiver, but it does sound super, super fun. I definitely try it. And now we're joined with Paris Wolfe, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about Margarita Day, some recommendations, including tequila, maybe. Welcome, Paris.
Yes.
Thank you, Josh.
So, National Margarita Day, February 22nd. What is
Thursday.
the scoop? Oh, that's when this episode will be coming out. So, happy National Margarita Day. But what is the scoop? What have you kind of been learning about this cocktail that everyone kind of knows about, but maybe they don't know?
Well, it's the most popular cocktail in the country right now. It's always best when you juice your own citrus, mostly lime, unless you're doing something different. The tequilas, which are Blanco, Reposado, and Añejo, different bartenders disagree on which one, which style to use.
Yeah. Blanco's like probably the most typical, right?
No.
Oh, really?
I was surprised. I thought Blanco, that's what I like.
See, I like a Reposado margarita.
Yeah. Well, just to be clear, the Blanco is the unaged. It can be aged for up to 60 days, but no more. The Reposado can be aged for up to 2 years, and then the Añejo can be aged in a barrel for longer.
How long?
However, añejo in Spanish means old, so it's literally just.
So it's like kind of like wine, where it's like the longer you age it, the better, or more.
It can depend, because some wine gets bad if it. I don't know.
It's more like bourbon. The longer you age,
yeah,
the
that
better.
is true.
Yeah.
But so they're all kind of different, but they're all the same. Blue Weber agave has to be made in certain regions of Mexico. That's why I know there's some distilleries in Northeast Ohio who make great tequila to put in margaritas, but
spirit.
yes, they can't call it tequila. It's called agave spirit. Like I know Western Reserve distillers you talked to for your story, they make amazing, but they can't call it tequila because it's not made in Mexico.
Yeah, when I was traveling to Mexico in the last couple of years, I did a couple of tequila tastings, and they were so big on, I can't remember the specifics, but blue agave. They were
Blue Weber agave,
Blue Weber agave. They were like very, 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 very adamant about that being such a key ingredient. So
it's the only thing you can make tequila from. There are more than 200 varieties of agave, and probably 40 of them can be used in mezcal. But for tequila, it has to be Blue Weber agave. Now, there are some cheaper tequilas that use Blue Weber agave, and then they do some sugar. In addition, those are the ones that
make an additive. They'll give you a hangover.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So talking about the name brands. So Patron, is that checking the boxes?
Oh, I think it's good.
Oh yeah, Patron, Don Julio.
I was just telling Paris one I like, which it's not as common at the bars, but it's called Siete Lenguas. It says it's like 7 is on the bottles, and it's similarly priced to Patron, but I think it's like I could drink a tequila soda with that. Like it's really good, a good sipper. But there's a lot of tequila just worth trying too.
For the story, for the sake of research, I tried about 7.
Oh yeah, for the sake of the story.
She was
Yeah.
really working
her
hard
research.
this
Working
weekend.
hard, yeah.
Yeah, but what
Don
did you like?
Julio is probably among my favorites.
Yeah.
And I really do like Blanco in my margaritas.
Mhm.
When I talk to people at Nuevo Modern Mexican and Tequila Bar, the owner said she prefers to use a reposado.
Yeah.
And I've got reposado. Out of 4 people I talked to, I got 2 reposados, 1 Blanco, and then a fourth person said that they would use the Blanco in a summer margarita, and they would use the reposado in a heavier winter.
I think that makes sense. You just
agree.
like unlocked something for me a little bit.
Now you need to buy more tequila.
I know. But speaking of, I guess, Nuevo Modern Mexican, are there any like what local places do you guys like to drink margaritas? Because personally, I believe I'm a margarita expert. I've had quite a few
Okay.
around town.
And
But
you're going to agree with me. I know you are.
Okay.
yeah, what do you like?
Blue habanero.
Oh yeah, they're so good at blue habanero.
I was gonna say blue agave tacos and tequila.
Is that on the-
downtown?
I don't think I've had one there. But what's also good is next to Blue Habanero is La Playa, which it's owned by the same owners. Like it's just a Mexican seafood restaurant with a different. They don't do as many margaritas as Blue Habanero because they're next to each other and they want to keep it different. But they have a soft serve margarita.
Mhm.
And if you've ever been to like Disney World where the Dole Whip, I don't know how, but they make a margarita that's like the consistency of Dole Whip, and it's so good. It's really
Aw.
delicious.
Yeah, I was gonna
Sounds
say.
good.
I used to be like when I was first coming up in my early 21 drinking days. I used to be like, oh, only frozen, only frozen, only frozen. But now it's like, keep that frozen stuff away from
Oh
me.
no.
It has to be.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
usually I never have a frozen margarita, but then this, because it's like a weird ice cream consistency, I'm like,
Mhm.
this is like a delicious treat.
Yeah, it sounds dangerous.
Keep the gun away from me, too. The ones that they
Oh,
out
yeah.
of the gun.
Oh,
that
yeah.
are
Or yeah,
that
any
fluorescent
mix
color.
in a plastic bottle, that kind of thing, no.
Yeah, that's not real.
Which I know it doesn't, it's a different cocktail, but I've also been really into Palomas, which is like a margarita
Grapefruit.
basically, but
Mhm.
yeah, with grapefruit. And I had one at Clandestina on West 25th, which is a mezcal tequila bar. And oh my God, I tried a couple different cocktails there. They are so good, especially if you are like a tequila margarita person, but want something like a little outside the
Mhm.
norm. It's a great place to go try stuff.
Once again, when I was talking to the different restaurants, somebody said they liked Blanco in their Paloma, and someone else wanted the Reposado in their Paloma.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am still engaging in dry January, even though it's February.
Oh.
Yes.
Wow.
So is there a way to make a mock?
Yes.
Mock
They have
margarita?
non-alcoholic tequila. I don't know if
Yeah.
they call it tequila. I don't
Mhm.
know if it's made in Mexico, but non-alcoholic versions of that. Yes.
And they also have, there's this recipe at the end of my story that's a Margarita
Oh.
that uses the juices and gets a lot of the characteristics. And then if you're drinking it with someone else, you can
Mhm.
batch it and put tequila in theirs if you want.
That actually sounds interesting. I'll check that out.
You'd probably like that because it's just probably like really good juice, like no alcohol at all. Like,
Yeah. I think a good mocktail for me, I've experienced. is
like yeah.
it
Do you
has
want it to
have-
taste like a spirit?
Yes, I want
Okay.
it to have like a punch to it. You know what
Put
I
a
mean?
hair on your chest.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, you got to go to Verbena then in Ohio City because that's all non-alcoholic, and I'm sure that would be a place you could go and find a tequila alternative or something.
Yeah.
And now we're joined by Peter Chakerian, who's going to talk a little bit about a new fast casual barbecue restaurant in Willoughby called Grill, and we're going to learn a little bit about. They've been open about a year now, and we're going to learn what they've been doing there and how the concept translates to barbecue. So, hi, Pete.
Hey, good to see you both.
Yeah. So, give us the lowdown. What's going on at Grill?
It's a really fun little place in Willoughby, kind of down Euclid Avenue. They have this big stretch of restaurants that are out near where the hospital is. And I sort of fell into knowledge about this place, and they sort of do the fast casual assembly line aesthetic or assembly dinner aesthetic, whatever you want to call that. essentially the Chipotle sort of
Mhm.
model,
Mhm.
but they do it with barbecue. And the owner and chef, Ziad Achar, I think I got his name right there. He's Lebanese. For several years, he was running a place called Flame, which was in the Glenville neighborhood. It was
Mhm.
like basically a chicken place. He had come from another fast food background and decided that from a food desert perspective, there needed to be more healthy options in the neighborhood that he was situated in.
Yeah.
He was there for several years and now has sort of moved on to this new concept. And the concept's really amazing. It's very, very cool and much in the style of like Bibi Bop that does that with Asian food, and Chula, who does that with Indian. He's got a real solid concept there. He's already been in business for almost a year and is considering a second location on the west side. He's starting to
Ooh.
scout out some places. He didn't want to comment on where or how, but he seemed very positive that that was the direction they were wanting to head in.
That's good news for those of us on the west side. But
Yeah.
I guess walk us through like when you go there, what is like, how do you order? Like, do you start with the meat, or like is there like I think of Chipotle and they're like, okay, what kind of rice do you want?
Yeah.
Like how does it work there?
Well, it starts off exactly that way. They give you like 4 or 5 different options in terms of your base. Rice is certainly one of those. Potatoes is another option that you have. Macaroni and cheese. So you get your base starch essentially, and then from there, you get a choice of several different kinds of proteins. So he offers grilled chicken, brisket, pulled pork, which is slow smoked, really good. Also smoked sausage, that's another option. And then you sort of work your way down the assembly line. The next thing you know, you've got veggies and various other toppings. So he has something called cowboy caviar, which is essentially like if you've ever had that like a summer corn and black bean
Like a
salad
succotash.
with succotash.
That's
Yeah,
what
right.
people call it.
Exactly. So there's that. There pickled onions, various other types of things, jalapenos, and you can add all of that. Then you have a number of different sauces. He makes all of them from scratch
Wow.
in the back, and the barbecue is really solid. But he has several other varieties of sauces that I was just floored by. So you couldn't not be excited. You come out with this giant bowl of barbecue, and it just looks and smells amazing. It was just delicious.
Yeah, so like I've always felt super overwhelmed whenever I've ever checked out a fast casual place like Chipotle, Piata, because there's just so many options. I'm like, I don't really know what
Piata,
to do.
I almost forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't even know what to do. So so normally like my way in is to get a recommendation from somebody like, this is how you should make your bowl, and I'll do that, and then I can make my adjustments from there. What would be like your go-to like bowl right now?
Oh yeah, do they have any like pre-made menu items, or is it all customized?
You can pretty much customize everything. They don't have them all set up in individual sort of, no substitutions sort of thought process. Everything is pretty much it's a free ride. You go in there and you just pick what you want and throw it all together. So, and that can be challenging for some people, but I think I have some dietary restrictions in my family, and so these varieties of places to go and eat are especially appealing because, someone with a dairy allergy, for instance, like my daughter, she can kind of steer away from all of that and still have a really wonderful meal. My son, who tends to be a little bit more of a fussy eater and, likes what he likes, could sort of, steer and dial in over there. My wife is vegetarian, so you can see where all of this is going.
Yeah.
I mean, you can all show up though at one place.
And without having to be like, oh, can I get this without that? Like, I'm sure
Yeah.
it becomes cumbersome when you're always making substitutions and stuff.
Yeah.
Exactly. But, this really gives everybody the opportunity to figure out what they like and to sort of explore it.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Okay.
I saw TikTok on this place. I did a little bit of research.
Yeah.
Had to prepare. Do they offer you the ability to sprinkle hot Cheeto dust on things?
I didn't see...
It's a secret menu item.
Okay.
or something.
I didn't
don't know.
see Cheeto dust when I was there, but that doesn't mean that you can't.
Mm.
That might be one of those things where, like, you have to, give them the look, or there's a secret handshake or something. I don't know.
Gotcha. I'll have to do some further digging because that was like a selling point for me.
Yeah, you love a restaurant with a hot Cheeto, anything.
Yeah.
It's
Like
just-
corn on the cob with
Yeah,
some
no,
hot
I do.
Cheetos,
I
like-
love that. I love
Yes.
that.
Oh
Come
yeah,
on.
I can get behind that.
Mhm.
One other thing that's really great about this place too is that they have lunch specials, 2 of them. One of them is a burrito, which is essentially it looks a little bit like Chipotle when they get done wrapping it up together. But also these really great $10 quesadillas. They call them killer quesadillas, and you can essentially get them filled with all of the things that you would get in a bowl, and it's a 10 spot. Each one of those things is only $10. So
Wow, that sounds good.
that's a quick meal on the run if you're wanting to duck in during lunchtime at work or whatever.
Yeah, I can't think of any other like barbecue fast casual spots
Around here,
around
no.
here.
Mm-mm.
No, so this is a pretty unique spot.
No, I know. Well, you mentioned Chula, but I feel like even, which it's not the same, but the brassica concept, it's kind of like
Right.
you pick your own, build your own kind of thing. But it does seem to be like a trend, kind of. Well, I read Jamaican Kitchen. That's like Jamaican Chipotle, pretty much. That's how he would describe it. The owner, Chef Omar, I talked to him a couple weeks ago. And he said that's how he came up with the concept. Now they're gearing up to open their 5th location, but he saw Chipotle and he's like, oh, I could do that with Jamaican food. And he heard from people that Jamaican food wasn't as approachable. People were a little more like timid about it. So the concept kind of makes it more approachable for you to try things you might have not elsewhere.
Yeah, unless you're like me, you're like options. No, thank
No,
you.
but that is, you reminded me of like when I first went to Happy Dog and they used to have like the pre-made ones. I'd be like, okay, Michael Simon orders this one. That's what I'm going to do because I'm too scared to like, or like I've gone to Happy Dog or like a Barrio where you're building your own taco and then you start checking off too much stuff. And then it's like, okay, I ruined this. You have to get a new paper and start over.
Yeah.
But trial and error, you might have to go and experiment. And well, that is what seems fun about it too, is you could go multiple times and have a different meal every time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a huge part of the appeal, I think, is that you can do something different every single time you go, and and no 2 meals will be the same. And really, in a lot of ways, when you look at how these bowls turn out, no 2 bites are ever really the same either because there's so much stuff going on in them. So I'm a huge fan. Ziad really won me over with what they're doing over there, and I expect big things to happen.
No, I gotta get over there. Now I'm hungry.
Yeah.
So
Maybe not for you though if you don't want your meats to touch.
oh my gosh. You need like the segmented bento box.
Yeah, I was just joking. I'm fine with it, but yeah.
The
I'm
lunch
down with
tray with the dividers.
Yeah.
Right? Is that what you're telling me?
No, I saw someone recently. Because my friend and I were talking about like cereal you ate when you're younger and how it's like the best thing when you mix all the cereals together. But someone took one of those trays that had like 4 and put like 4 different kinds of cereal in it. I'm like, that's kind of genius. Like you could mix them all together a little bit.
Clever.
Yeah. Well, very important discussions at the Dine Drink CLE podcast. So thank you so much for watching or listening to the Dine Drink CLE podcast this week. Make sure to follow us and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Follow us on Instagram at DineDrinkCLE or subscribe to our newsletter at cleveland.com/newsletters. Thanks.